Edition of Freelance Discussions. Today I brought in my mom, aka Fumbleman's wife, aka Female Fumbella. The reason I brought her in today was a couple weeks back, she sent me a video that she had made on her phone about all her complaints and her gripes about being a duck hunter's wife. So that got me to thinking, because actually old Danny Boy and I have been talking a lot this year. It being his first year of duck hunting, I've had to counsel him and coach him a little bit on how to behave himself with his wife, because, you know, we like to duck hunt a lot. And that means that if you're a worker like we are, that means most Saturdays you're gone. You work all week and then you're gone all day Saturday. And so a lot of women have a lot of issues with that. So I thought today we would let her get some things off her chest and make fun of my dad quite a bit, which is always fun for everybody.
It's always fun.
I have some tips for those of you that are married and for you guys that are in the dating field. So what are your big gripes as a duck hunter's wife?
Well, I think the worst thing for me is the early mornings.
But you're sleeping. What's it matter to you?
Oh, 2:30 in the morning? You don't think that's hard for a woman? Especially when you guys get so excited that you roll and toss all night long with excitement, knowing 2:30 is coming.
Well, Dad's not exactly the quietest around the house in the morning either.
No. In fact, that's the thing. He goes in the bathroom, makes noise in there, and then he goes down to the kitchen and he slams those cupboards till it sounds like the 4th of July. And then finally the door shuts and I think, oh, he's gone. But I've learned, no, he'll be coming back in about 3 more times.
He is pretty forgetful.
Oh.
Which I can't really chastise him that much for that, because I am pretty forgetful.
It's terrible. The big one was when he forgot his shotgun.
It's a pretty essential part. It probably just improves his shooting percentage when he forgets his shotgun.
Then they come home at night, and if you think they're going to grab you and say, oh, honey, it's so good to see you, that ain't going to happen. They're going to come in all dirty and smelly. And first of all, I don't want Carl touching me the way he looks. He's dirty and smelly and messy.
Well, I wrote down 5 things guys can do to improve their relationships with their wives and still duck hunt. And I'm going to say them, and you tell me what you think of these.
Okay.
Here's number one tip. And I've talked to Dan about this a lot, and I think he's doing better. When you get home, if you're going to be tired, automatically take a quick nap. And then when you get up, you do not ruin your wife's evening.
That's
if she
good.
wants to go out, you go out. And you don't complain about being tired. You totally fake it. Whether you're tired or not, you fake it. You don't gripe about being tired. You don't complain about being tired. And if, like I said, if they say we're going out tonight, I say to Dan, what's your answer? And Dan says, yes. So yes, that's your answer. We're going out. Tired or not. That's number 1.
Have you shared these with Fumbleman's?
No, he's too old to. All right, so what do you think about that one?
I think that's great.
Right.
I think that's really good. And there are some perks of being a hunter's wife. For instance, when you guys go spend money, that's hard being a hunter's wife.
Yeah.
But remember, when they've gone to Cabela's and come home all happy because they've spent $100 on duck decoys, you can remind them of that the next time you want a new dress.
And I was going to bring that up. Dan and I were driving back from a hunt at 2:30 in the afternoon. And anytime I hunt past 2, my wife Beth's okay with it. But if I'm past 2, 3, 4 o'clock, I know that I'm pushing it a little bit. But she's okay with it. But anyway, so we were driving home and I got a phone call from Beth. And she says, I'm at Target. And she said, there's these new boots here and they're only $50. And I turned to Dan and I said, because Dan's in training.
Right.
I said, Dan, what is your answer here? The answer is yes. And Beth is smart enough that she called specifically at that point in time because she knew that I was out at 2:30 and I wouldn't say no. So wives, if you're watching, use it to your advantage too. Like she said, we spent a lot of money on duck hunting equipment.
Right.
So use it to your advantage. So she specifically called as I was driving back from duck hunting because she knew that I would say yes. So I guess that's another tip. If you're driving back from a long trip on duck hunting and you get a call and your wife wants to know if she can spend something, the answer is yes.
Yes. And the other thing
Pretty crafty on her part, really.
And be prompt. You know, women worry. We know that the duck hunting sport is kind of a perilous. It can become a perilous sport. I mean, you and Dad have tipped over your john boats. Dad's jumped over in the or in the freezing water one time. And so be prompt. I know one time Dad kept calling me half an hour for 2 hours. He called me half hour apart. And then I'd pick up the phone and nobody be there. Well, he's down at Call Lake. And so I think, oh my goodness, he's in trouble. He's trying to get help. So finally I call the ranger, and the ranger is going to go out and try to find
So
someone.
where was he? What was he doing?
He
was
called me. No, he called me a bit later and said, "Honey, I couldn't make my phone work. Could you please record the Chiefs game?" Oh, that didn't go over.
So that's
That
another
didn't go
tip.
over.
Don't call and ask your wife to record sporting events while you're hunting. You're gonna get her mad when she comes back.
Well, I didn't know where to kill him or be happy. I was so mad.
Let me talk about being prompt. So here's the deal, because your wife normally wants to know when you're gonna be back.
That's right.
So if you think you're gonna be back at 12, you say you're gonna be back at 3. You always put much farther distance beyond when you really think you're gonna be back, because you know you're out at 11 o'clock and you know you should be picking up, and ducks start flying.
That's
You're
right.
gonna stay. You're just gonna stay. So typically, here's my answer to what time you're gonna be back. Well, I'm not really sure. It might be a shorter hunt, but it could be all day. That's the way you want to set that up. So that's another important tip. Always, if she wants to know what time you're going to be back, always add at least 3 hours onto the end of when you think you're going to be back.
Well, I'm telling the single hunters who listen to Freelance Duck Hunting or watch it, if you're proposing, going to put a ring on a woman's finger, it's not a bad idea to ask her how she feels about your duck hunting right off the top.
Yeah.
I know when Dad proposed to me, he said, "And will you camp?" Of course you said, "Yes, of course I will," and then you can back out later.
That actually goes into my tip that I have for single guys. That's a perfect segue. That if you are dating a girl and it's hunting season and you feel so tingly happy in love with her that you don't feel like going duck hunting that weekend, you go duck hunting. And here's why. You have to set a precedent. The girl you're dating needs to know how important this is to your life. So all through dating, you hunt, maybe even hunt more than you normally do, because you're breaking her in, you're setting her up. Because what a woman doesn't want is for you to not hunt all through the dating phase, and then bam, you're married, and all of a sudden you want to hunt all the time. That's really hard to break them in like that. So hunt throughout the dating period. And if she's giving you crap about duck hunting when you're dating, dump her.
That's right.
No
She's
low
not
judge.
gonna change.
Get rid of her now.
That's right. That's right.
Not only is she not going to change, she's going to make your hunting life hell when you're married.
That's right. So you might as well face that up front. And I think it's fair to ask a woman. Well, usually you can sense right away if a woman's going to go along with your sport.
Yeah.
And if she's not, it's not going to work. Because like they say, if mama ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Well, and in fairness to a woman, she needs to know what she's getting into.
That's right.
So if
That's
you
right.
want to hunt, fish, duck hunt, you need to be doing it throughout your dating period.
Right.
And it's no joke. If they're giving you a hard time about your hunting during dating, you just need to break up
That's
with them.
right. And you ought to give them a quality time, maybe in the next week or something, like a date out night
Yeah.
or something, and say, I really appreciate all you take up.
Yeah.
I really appreciate all you do to let me hunt.
Yeah. They need to know it.
Yeah, yeah.
And during off season, what Beth and I do is I encourage her to go out with her friends as much as she wants. So encourage your wife or your girlfriend to go out. You might even say, "Hey, I appreciate your willingness to accept my hunting and embrace it. Tonight, why don't you go with your friends and I'll take care of the kids?" Or just really lay it on them the amount that you appreciate them, and that'll make a big difference. So, is there anything else you want to add in?
Well, a lot of people ask me, how have you put up with duck hunting all these years? Well, you know what, ladies? It's the only vice he has. And in this day
That
and
she
age,
knows about.
and in this day and age, if they aren't out chasing women, you're doing pretty good. Besides, some of them, it's getting too old to do that.
Well, I think that about does it, but honestly, this is really a serious topic, and if you're a duck hunter, you need to work on these things I talked about to make sure that your duck hunting's not affecting your relationship with your wife, and you do need to be preparing your girlfriend if you're getting serious for what you like to do also, because a lot of hunting really can ruin a marriage if both people are not on
I'm sure.
on the same page with it.
That's right. That's right. And you say, well, is it worth marrying a duck hunter? If you love them, it is.
If you don't, Well, that's all we've got for today. Hey, show this to your wife.